Let me start. Go ahead.
Okay. So welcome everybody, and thanks for your flexibility tonight. When Kelly said he needed to be remote, his wife was traveling, and so he had to be the caretaker tonight. I didn't think it made sense for us to go to the office to then look at a screen and talk to our one guest tonight. What I would like to tell you is that, as you know, we have pushed as we wait for Kelly, who I don't see yet, right, Lucy? Yeah.
I'll let you know.
We had pushed Joel, as you know, brought this great item to us on maker spaces. And we were just had such a heavy agenda that month that he brought it that we bumped it. So what we've decided to do, we're going to need some data from Kelly. We thought it could be useful just in fleshing out the resolution to ask him some questions at the end of his report about admissions tonight. And then we're going to move it to February. So I also want to announce we have congratulations in order for Joel. He is going to be going to Stanford in the fall, and we are going to lose him, unfortunately, but we're really excited for him. So that's just wonderful news. And we've so enjoyed having you with us. So we have a few more months, but I just wanted you all to know that. And so he will hopefully come back and visit when he's home.
You can zoom in.
He could zoom in if he wanted. And you know, maybe since we're still waiting for Kelly, I'll go ahead and make the other announcements now that I was going to include tonight. I attended the meeting with the SCA, DOE, and Harbor School leadership. They have a new principal at the school. Jeffrey Cherico's stepped down, but it's the assistant principal that's the interim principal. She's great. And we had a wonderful meeting, and they showed us the plans, which were great, but they don't want me to present them yet tonight. They want to polish them. They did get some feedback from the Harbor School. Mostly it was structural things like they might need a different entrance to the locker room where they store the scuba equipment because it's a very small elevator that they're coming in right now vis-a-vis the plans that they have in a very narrow passageway. That's what's so, important and why eventually this committee, I didn't want to do it until after this Harbor School was all done, but I think we are going to do a resolution about having the school principals be more involved in the building of our schools. There are so many things that are, and especially for the Harbor School, because, their equipment is super specific. And I think that it's going to be really important to have this feedback to avoid redos. Redos are very expensive and time consuming. So I just wanted to mention that. So we will see the revised drawings when they're finished. I do want to say the SCA was very accommodating to the requests. I don't see a problem. And the best news ever that we received, because we had not been told, which was unusual, is that the lease has been signed at long last, 18 months later, with Governor's Island and the Department of Education. So we have a lease. We are still working on some things about the access between the two buildings, as you might have heard. There's some discussion about the fact that we could not demap that road that separates the two. So now the school is requesting that we have a more friendly connection between the two buildings, and the SCA is working with Governor's Island Trust to see if we can make that happen. What else do I want to tell you about that meeting? Oh, my comment was, you can provide the access or the kids will probably just take control of the yard. Probably would be a better idea to give them, a defined passageway. So that's all on that. And after I just see Kelly's just joined us. So after Kelly's presentation, if you guys have questions about the Harbor School meeting, I'm happy to answer them. But for now, I want to welcome Kelly McGuire.
Hi, thanks so much, Trisha, for having me tonight. Sorry that we can't be doing this in person, but and especially sorry for those of you who are stuck in the office. But thanks for having me tonight. Do you want me to just jump into some things? I have a couple of notes that you had sent earlier, that the office had sent earlier, touching on enrollment, after school programs, and also just happy to answer, any questions. So do you want me to just start with that?
So I would love it if you just start with, what you know about enrollment and after school, and, we'll then ask you some questions maybe
Yeah,
afterwards.
for sure, for sure. Okay, great. Again, thanks for having me tonight. And so, just to make people aware, the numbers that I'm going to be sharing tonight are unofficial numbers. The city does release audited registers of each school a bit later in the winter time. It always feels like it's much later than we would anticipate, but I do have some numbers that I think could be helpful. So just starting off, we have 49 schools plus one large pre-K center here in District 2 that are under my superintendency and our district office. And so of those 50 total schools, if you call the pre-K center a school, 41 of them have either seen a register increase, so a student population increase, or a increase, or something that a student population that is relatively flat. About 9 schools have seen a decrease. 4 of those are in Chinatown. And then the remaining 5 are kind of a smattering of different schools across the district. Some of the schools that have seen a registered decrease has resulted due to some planned reprogramming. For example, in one of our schools, we opened a special class, a 12-to-1 class for students with disabilities in order to accommodate that program in the district and create more geographic diversity for families of students who are served in special class. But that did mean that the class cap on that class was 12 and not 33. So there is some change like that it is happening in the district. We have seen some schools that have had very, very large increases. A lot of those schools are serving students who are seeking asylum in our city, but not entirely. Some of the schools on the Upper East Side are seeing register increases of 20, 30, 40, 50 kids. And that's primarily not from students seeking asylum. So good news all around. We have a couple thousand students more in the district than we have had in years past, than the previous year, just the previous year. And again, but good news that about 41 of them have seen a population increase, which is really strong. In some parts of the city, we've seen a bit of a flattening, so it's positive to see that the number of students we're serving in our district is at least flat in most of our schools, with increases in many others. A number that people are often asking about is specifically the number of students who are living in temporary housing. And I think I reported out to this committee a couple of months back, that the number of students in temporary housing that we're serving is around 2,000, 2,100. And that we have historically had 300 to 400 students who are living in temporary housing in our district. So we do think that about 1,700 or 1,800 of those students are students who are seeking asylum, students and families who are seeking asylum in the city. And so far, that number has remained relatively steady. I know a lot of people are asking about the impact to the 60-day shelter rule, which is significant in at least a couple of our schools, where families have begun to receive that 60-day notice letter, and then the 60 days is now up. So that they have seen a significant number of families leaving, but they also have been enrolling new families into the school as well. And I can talk more about that if you have specific questions that you'd like to ask. Another question that has come up in the past is in regard to wait lists. So, we're not really accommodating wait lists right now. Those have mostly closed. I will say that prior to wait lists for schools closing, we were seeing a very large number of families who are seeking a 3K seat for their child in the district. I think at one point our 3K wait list was several hundred, maybe as many as 400 or 500 families that were seeking 3K seats in our district. We've been able to accommodate pre-K families in our district, but those 3K families is if there were ever an opportunity to grow the number of kids in the district, expanding 3K would be seat options for families would be a real option to do that. We're continuing to see strong attendance in our after-school programs. As many know, the DYCD partnership programs in middle schools have strong attendance in almost every single one of our schools. And our elementary schools are, a mixture of pay and CBO programs that are serving kids in elementary schools. One thing that we have received that we're hoping will expand opportunities for kids in after-school programs in elementary schools is a grant from the state. We earned a grant from the state specifically to serve students in temporary housing with the focus on students whose families are seeking asylum. We now have received that grant and have that in our budget. And we have been working with schools that are serving students in temporary housing. A big need that has, while we are the facilitator of the grant, we are not the facilitator of activities. Like those are being run by the schools and the after-school partners. And so a lot of schools have asked us for chunks of that money so that they can provide after-school programming for their students. And any after-school program that has a vendor number with the city and the school has made that request, we're trying to honor as many of those as possible. So a school might, we just had a school that requested $10,000. They work with a community-based organization, and so they want to use some of that funding to offset the cost for additional students and programming, specifically serving and supporting students in temporary housing. So we're continuing to facilitate that grant and a bunch of other programs that are affiliated with it to serve both children and their families. And so that's been really exciting. But all in all, it's we had a very strong start to the year. Things are going well in our schools. There was an article that came out today about an increase in suspension in New York City. I'm thankful to say that the number of suspensions in our district has decreased and continued to decrease throughout the months. And that's not because kids who are doing naughty things aren't being called on it. It's just that I think that our teachers and school leaders are feeling really energized, that they are running really strong programs, that we are focusing on the stuff that we think keeps kids engaged, which is, strong, engaging curriculum and activities that everybody feels are good for kids, including the kids themselves, most importantly, the kids themselves. And so we think that that's having a positive effect. But looking forward to a really great second half of the year as well. And that's about all I got for now, but happy to answer questions.
I have a question. Hand up.
Tricia, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I did mute myself because I was wrestling. Bob?
Okay, just, I don't get to see Kelly too much, even though we email once in a while, just to report to Kelly that we have accommodated, I think, asylum seekers, children living in temporary housing, in our middle school programs. I am going to have a meeting next Thursday where it's on the agenda, but in just a show of hands, at this, almost all of our middle schools, and there are about 25 of them that we run, children temporary housing, and the staff does remain concerned about children who are in temporary housing that have to vacate. We heard a couple of stories we didn't really like, and we tried to reach out to the children and working with the principals to get them still to attend the school and still to attend after school, because, you know, some of these middle school kids can get, I don't think we ask them to leave school if their address changes, right, Kelly? So we ask them to, you know, you like after school, you like the school, you know, it's maybe a little bit of a train ride, a different train ride or whatever, but to try to maintain that connection. So that's our goal with the middle school children who are in our program. And I guess working with the principals, we've tried to make that happen on occasion. The other thing is with elementary school, we do not have capacity because that's a different issue where the ratios for the health department are quite different. Our capacity is quite different. Getting staff onboarded today, the DOH said, oh, you got to get, you know, got to test fingerprints every 5 years. And they said, oh, but we want you to do it every 4 years because we don't want to be backlogged year 5. So they said, do it in 2 weeks. God bless you, DOH. I love OCFS because once in a while they give us a grant. But elementary schools remain, and just here at PS 276, we do have a number, and I was telling this to Tricia when we were talking, we do have a number of children in that are, you know, in asylum or temporary housing. The problem is with, and even in middle school, if they come and they go, they take up a slot. And let's say we have a robotics club and we put them in the robotics club and we're full and they leave, and then the other child who's there all year long can't come into the robotics club because they've gone on to another club. To, you know, it's just a management issue with elementary school and with middle school of the transition, but we're doing our best with that. And you know, I'll keep everybody, the committee, informed on how we're doing it. But the staff, my staff and the school staff are very, you know, contrary to, you know, to newspaper reports, people are very much interested in helping these kids because they like being, they like sports, they like arts, they like messing around in after school. Don't want to say anything, but they seem to like it better than day school. But Kelly, my other question is, with the increases that you said, the 41 schools, is that from last year? Those are not pre-pandemic increases. Those are increases from last year, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
No, it's good to know. I mean, you know, I've been checking around mostly with some of our elementary schools, and you know, hearing different things. Families receiving new housing in Manhattan, families receiving new housing in outer boroughs, families moving. I heard from one school where like 20 families had found a place to stay in Albany, and they were all hoping to, you know, go there and enroll in school as a in a you know, community where they could continue to know each other and rely on each other. All of these networks are just like really, really important. But for middle schoolers who stay in the city, or families who have middle schoolers who stay in the city, yeah, I do hope that they remain in their school. All kids can continue to, remain in the school, even if they have to move out of the borough. But as you point out, middle schoolers can handle it better than elementary school age kids who shouldn't be traveling on their own.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Joel?
Thanks. Hi again.
Hey, Joel.
I just wanted to ask if you have a list of what schools currently have makerspaces. So I think you said there are 40 middle schools in District 2.
Yeah, I did. Yep, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
my question is which ones have makerspaces?
I really know just the one that has an official set aside makerspace, which is IS 276.
Okay. And that's it out of all 40?
Well, the 40 schools, we have 50 schools, or 49 plus one.
Okay, 50 schools.
Yeah, so that's the only school that has a real set aside makerspace that I think is of the type of makerspace that people were putting into their schools at the time where that was particularly popular. I will just say that there are other schools that do activities and programs. They may have a program around digital printing, or a program around coding that might connect with some of the activities that people see as makerspace type activities. But really, the only school that is in our district that has a physical space that is set aside for maker activities is 276.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious more about like places that have places where you can mess with wood or cardboard or metal. Um, so I think coding and 3D printing is a separate topic. So it
Yeah,
sounds like of the 50, there's only one school that has that sort of place, right?
that's right. Yep.
And what was the history behind that? I know you mentioned a little bit about the council members, but can you talk a little bit more about how that was created?
Yeah. Um, I know that the space and the resources were publicly funded initially. Um, so city council, I believe, was the funding source, but I think that the real uh, resource that keeps that going is that it is staffed and built into a part of the school program.
Mhm.
It wasn't something, basically it's been, become institutionalized, I guess, as a part of the core curriculum that is offered in the school.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm curious to visit that. I think the board was thinking about maybe passing a resolution about increasing the number of makerspaces because, I think it's very important for children's education. It has many benefits in making and outside of making. Um, so, yeah, where would the budget go to fund that? Just from brief spreadsheet calculations, I listed out all the things a makerspace should have, and it was only $2,000 for the upfront equipment, and then $200 per month afterward. So,
Right.
what sort of um, where would the money come from for that?
I think that the money would come from the school budget. The real cost would be that of staffing, right, of the teacher.
Mhm.
There was schools, even 276 does not have a specific makerspace allocation for the teacher. However, they've decided with once you cover the core program, like there are classes that you have to cover as a school: English, math, science, social studies, physical education, and you do also have to cover um, things in the creative arts. And I'm not sure if you would, describe that a makerspace as something in the creative arts, but a school would just have to make the decision that they were going to allocate a staff member or a portion of the staff member's schedule to running and facilitating and being trained for and staying up to training for that makerspace. Yeah, it's basically, there are, once you cover these core subjects, then that are required by the state, then there's some flexibility in the program, and schools have to just decide how it is that they're going to use that flexibility. Some might do different types of arts, some might add, literacy periods or foreign language periods. Or different things into the program. So it it really varies from school to school. So the money would come from the school budget to fund the teacher. So in that way, it's not necessarily the money; it is more the programming decision by the school to allocate both time and funding for that.
Okay, so it sounds like the school has their art budget, and then they're the ones who decide where to put it instead of
Yeah,
the
yeah. I mean, decides with their school community.
And Kelly, would that figure, I mean, I know that at some of our schools, like the more heavy lifting the PTA does on the items they can pay for gives the school more flexibility over the discretionary income within the school budget. Would you say that is true?
Definitely, PTA budgets can't actually pay for staff, but they can pay for everything else. And
Yeah.
so then some of those dollars that are used to pay for, paper and pencils and all kinds of things can be allocated to staffing. So PTA budgets are incredibly important for that.
That's great. So that would be something that the school, if there was enough interest, they could say, we'd like to do some sort of fundraiser, and that would be an okay thing to do and in support of it. Okay,
Yes,
that's
for
always
sure.
good to know.
Yeah, and as Joel pointed out, $2,000 is not so much of a startup cost, and PTAs could certainly pay for that.
Got it. That's helpful. Cody? Did you have a question, Cody?
I do. I'm sorry, I forgot how to work this thing. Basically, I just had a question about the asylum seeker students. Just following up, it's probably, I should know this, but do schools, individual schools, have any sort of communication lines open with or relationships with the shelters themselves where the students are coming from? In other words, to sort of keep the lines of communication open and increase their stability as they, become
Yeah, they
partners.
do. Yeah, they do. And we're also very fortunate to have social workers that are working in our schools who offer a great way of connection with shelters. There also is a students in temporary housing office that works as a part of our Manhattan team. And within that office, there are directors, but then there are also staff members who serve as liaisons between the public school system and the shelters. So there is good communication. I guess I would say that that's been really critical in not just in getting families basic information that they need about schools, but getting schools information about families. And then certainly when emergencies arise, we had a child who broke his arm on the playground the other day. And the school was not able to get in contact directly with the family. But there is an agreement with the shelter system, so they were able to contact somebody at the shelter so that they could then contact the family to make sure that the child got the medical care that they needed. So I guess I would say that it's not always, not every situation works quite as smoothly with communication as we would like, but the good thing is that there are people who are set up to serve as liaisons between the schools and shelters.
Thank you.
You have another question, Morton?
I wanted to unmute.
Mhm.
Okay. Hi, Kelly. Good evening. So I want to congratulate District 2 on its decision to adopt the Wit and Wisdom kindergarten through fifth grade literacy curriculum. I saw the letter that went out. It came through, I guess it was our PTA or SLT, or it came to my inbox. So
Yeah.
I read it. Congratulations. We did have a question. You mentioned about literacy coaches. Where are the literacy coaches going to come from? And maybe I didn't read the letter carefully, but where's the money going to come from for all that? So,
No, it's a very good question. And not because there isn't an answer, but it's a really important component. It's actually one of the factors that led us to select Wit and Wisdom was not just that we felt it was a strong program, but that the publisher, Great Minds, seems to be incredibly well organized, and we're not hearing that from all of the publishers of the other two core curricula that were options. So what we are doing now is actually working with our central office and the Great Minds publishers to identify groups of coaches that don't necessarily work for the Department of Education right now, but that work for a third party. They are people who are professionally trained as literacy coaches, working for various organizations. And they are, the requirement is that they are experts in Wit and Wisdom. And so that those organizations, there's a bunch of them that are out there. So those organizations are going to be providing the specific implementation coaches that are going to be working with our schools. We're going to have the chance to meet them. They will liaise both with the school leadership, with school-based literacy coaches if a school does have them, and to work to try to work to implement the program first as a pilot this spring, and then more fully in the fall. There are a few organizations that are out there. ReadyGen, New York City Leadership Academy, the New Teacher Project. There are even people who used to work for Teachers College, which I know we're not supposed to be working with in this new model, but some of them have reinvented themselves as literacy coaches and become experts in Wit and Wisdom. And so we're excited about that. We're trying to leverage existing relationships that we have with organizations and individuals, because it's really important that they know District 2 and that they know our schools, and that they'll be able to fit right in.
okay.
Thank you.
Just so you know, one of the other hats I wear is a representative on the New York State Democratic Party State Committee. And one of the issues I've tried to embrace is implementation of the literacy curriculum, getting the government to support that. In fact, we were supposed to have a resolution that was supposed to go before the full committee, the last meeting, which was a couple of months ago in November, but it somehow didn't get filed in time. That wasn't me, but I've been assured that it might. You know Emily Hellstrom, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Emily was pushing that and wanted us to do that, and it's definitely. I'm told that we're definitely going to put it up for consideration at the next meeting, whenever that is. So, you know, I'm a big believer, advocate that in order to do this, we need funding. So whatever we can advocate for on behalf of the district and the system at large, you know, I'd be happy to advocate for.
For sure.
That's
great.
what
Yeah,
that's
no,
what I
that's-
love to do. So
Yeah, this is a part of, I didn't say that, this is a part of the NYC Reads initiative coming from the central office. So these coaches are funded centrally, not by school budgets.
Well, there's a couple of bills floating around the state legislature to provide more funding and support for, I guess, statewide for literacy education in the state.
Right.
So the
Yep.
more resources we can invest, this is my personal belief, the more resources we can invest in the schools and the children who go to the schools, that's the best investment that we can make. So
Agreed.
whatever we can do to advocate to help, I'm happy to be of assistance. And just let me know if you need anything, if we can't be of help.
Thank you.
Just
The
let me-
resolution sounds like a good place to start.
Okay, that's great. Okay, all right, thanks so much.
Yeah, for sure.
Rosa?
Thank you. Happy birthday, Trisha, and hi, Kelly.
Oh, happy birthday, Trisha. Hi,
Thank
Rose.
you.
Hi. So I had a few questions. Should I just say them all now, or just do one by one?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. So I guess
I'll
the
do my
first
best
one.
to keep track of them.
Okay, so the first one was you mentioned that 4 of the schools that had a reduction in enrollment were in Chinatown, and I find it a little concerning that 4 of them were all in one small area. And is there anything that you, I know that you said that some of it was actually a reduction in class size, but I imagine that's not true for all 4. So if I would love your thoughts on why you think that is, and if there are ways that we may try to address that situation so that that doesn't continue as a trend, was question 1. Then question 2 is, I know that generally we are required, or we are moving towards a class size reduction in New York. And what is the plan for that and the timeline for that? So that's question number 2. And then question number 3 is the PEG budget cuts to DOE. What are the ramifications, and when are we expecting those ramifications to hit? I mean, obviously the PEG budget cuts have been hitting different agencies and organizations, on different schedules, some of them immediately. And so I'm wondering how does it affect our students and our schools?
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah, no, great questions. In regard to Chinatown, unfortunately, it's a trend that's been going on for a few years, at least 5. And the real issue is that the number of school-age kids living in the neighborhood is, dramatically reduced. I think that I heard a statistic about, I think PS2, and that the number of school-aged, of kindergarten-aged children, or the number of children who would be applying to kindergarten for the fall, in the catchment zone of PS2 is like equivalent to less than 2 classes of kids. Like, just the physical number of kids in that area is less than 2 classes. And not all of those kids will go to PS2, for example. So it's that's really the issue. I think that for a long time there were families that would who were living in Chinatown, or families who would come to Chinatown to go to school, who may have lived in the outer boroughs. But I think that demographic shifts have obviously occurred, and so we're working a little bit with district planning on thinking about how it is that we might increase enrollment in the Chinatown area. Make sure that we are creating schools that are attractive to families. Thinking about, are there different programs or models that we might put into place in the schools to help to boost and bolster enrollment. So it was a challenge that was being worked on before I got into this job, and it's one that is still on the docket. In regard to the class size reduction bill, So, it's a 5-year phase in. We're currently in the first year of the phase in which New York City has to comply by ensuring that 20% of classrooms across the city meet the class size reduction bill. As a city, we were at that number, actually, not necessarily in our district, but some classrooms in our district were small enough to meet that criteria. But as a system as a whole, we certainly were able to meet those numbers. Next year is going to be more challenging. And so we are, there's we're looking at this problem or this challenge. It's a challenge. It's not necessarily a problem. I mean, people like smaller classes, right? Or many people like smaller classes. But we're looking at this challenge system-wide. I know that we are right now in the midst of conducting a very thorough audit of all of the school buildings to make sure that we have the space. And then there are going to be further recommendations that are made to the city to help us get in compliance with that rule, or some people are proposing amendments to that rule for schools that are very popular that have a lot of kids in the classroom. So more to come with that one for sure. And there is some creative, thinking going on to try and address that challenge. In regard to the budget reductions, we have not yet really felt that in our schools per se, but we definitely have felt that centrally and at the district budget. So those were really the first that have been cut. So we've seen a reduction in our district budget. But the most important place for money is in the school. So as you said, Rosa, that students are not impacted. So adjustments were made based on increases in the numbers of students or decreases in the number of students in relationship to the budget for which there were the budget projection that was initially made. We're hoping that we can, as a system, as a Department of Education, we can keep those budget cuts away from the schools this year, and then we'll have to look to next year to see what that looks like. So.
I guess just a quick follow-up to the whole reduction in class size and budget. Obviously, reduction in class size necessitates more budget or more funding. How is that? Where is the funding for that? Is that coming from state, or is that an allocation that was pre-existing that was just untapped to be able to allow us to actually meet those requirements, or how does that work? That was a question.
Sorry, I don't know if it's my internet or but you're wondering where the funding was coming for the class size reduction?
To actually make it happen, like to be able to,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
if you have fewer students per class, you physically need more classrooms to accommodate the total, like the overall number of students that you have. You also need obviously more teachers, and you know this. So how does the math
Yeah,
work?
Yeah, I think that's the problem, is that we don't really know. We don't currently have a plan in place to solve this. That's why there are people who are, looking system-wide, both within the city and within the state, to either try and find amendments to the class size bill, or they're seeking additional funds, but there isn't a great answer right now. All we can say is that this is a phased in bill. We are trying each year to address it to meet the next year 40% threshold that's required by the law. And so, we're trying to hit that benchmark first, and then, continuing to work on it year after year so that we are in compliance.
But then if for you, for instance, you said that the threshold, but I mean, because it's system wide, so you're able to sort of attack the sort of lowest hanging fruit first, right? Obviously.
Right.
And I'm
Yeah,
assuming
yeah.
that District 2, or specifically our district and our schools, are actually the highest hanging fruit. Does that mean that that impacts all of our schools in year 5 or year 4? And how
No,
do
not
you address that
necessarily.
volume of children that
Yeah,
need
yeah.
to?
No, yeah, not necessarily. It's classrooms, right? Like, so we do have some classrooms that are currently um, would are currently meeting the cutoff, meeting the class size. And So I guess it's just, looking at the system as a whole. Like I said, they were trying to get really good numbers and data on spaces in the system. A lot of those are data that, already exist, but they kind of went for a second round of surveying that was completed by principals recently. And, between looking at it year to year, looking at these kind of short-term objectives, and also then trying to figure it out more long-term, either by making amendments or, some additional planning. Like there are, a couple of things like we have one school that is co-located. City Knoll Middle School is co-located with PS 111 in the Hell's Kitchen area. And we are currently working with that community to recite possibly at another school site where there is more space, so that PS 111, which is the zone school for that area, is able to meet the class size bill, the guidelines of the class size bill. That's just one, classroom. So it's not like we can't do that system wide. There aren't that many examples of that.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Kelly.
Sure, sure. I don't have a great answer because there isn't yet one out there. So
Desi?
Hi there.
hi, Dizzy.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Um, this is quick. You had mentioned earlier that you're not supposed to really be working with Teachers College, and I was just kind of wondering why.
Oh, sometimes Teachers College has been named specifically. Sometimes it has, people have been referencing the units of study, which is a curriculum that was produced in Teachers College, Lucy Calkins and others. The Teachers College itself, there is absolutely nothing wrong with. People have concerns. People who have researched and are literacy experts have concerns about this units of study curriculum that came out of Teachers College because it is not aligned with the science of reading. And it is not aligned with the multi part curriculum that researchers on literature and brain research now know are the best ways to teach reading. Although I will say that Teachers College has made quite a few adjustments to their curriculum to bring it more in alignment with the science of reading. But the big, hang up on that original units of study curriculum was that it did not include enough of the kind of components of reading that we now know are necessary. There wasn't a strong phonics program. There wasn't enough knowledge building curricula there. There was not enough opportunity for students to gain access to grade level content and skill. And so when I, said we're not, mentioning Teachers College, it's more for that reason, just specifically looking at that balanced literacy curriculum that came out of Teachers College.
Are there other curriculums that more align that we're looking to shift to, or?
Yeah, the city did an audit, and they used a third party to help to look at reading curricula in grades K through 5. And then they some people at the central level looked at these literacy curricula independently, and they selected 3 from which school districts had the opportunity to choose for kindergarten through 5th grade. And those 3 curriculum were Wit and Wisdom, this curriculum that we have selected as a district, Expeditionary Learning, and Interreading. Those are the 3 curricula that were options. And those are all very highly rated, both in terms of being in alignment with the science of reading research and in alignment with the next generation learning standards, the state standards to which we design our curriculum.
Ruby, could you say those one more time? You said Wit and Wisdom.
Yep. Interreading and Expeditionary Learning, or EL.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
It's super helpful. I have a quick question, Kelly, and it's one for later. We were talking a lot about budget, how are we paying for this and that? I would love to circle back on this the next time that you come to visit us, because that was my question as well. We have the feedback from our community when they hear budget cuts, and then they hear these, very, inspirational measures that the DOE is finally taking. I mean, they're, to lower class size and, bring our asylum seekers into our system. Both of these things are very costly. And as much as everyone that I've heard from in our community is in support of both of them, they do ask the question at the end of the sentence, will this mean that there are less resources for the schools that we have now? Like, something's got to give. And I think for them, when they hear budget cuts, they're thinking that to even enable smaller class sizes, they might lose some programming. We've also talked about we definitely need interpreters. I know Bob does, and after school, the schools need them for the kids who don't speak English. So we have some really aspirational goals. And I think our families have been very concerned at what cost they come and are looking for some assurance. And like Morton said, we have a lot of very active people in our district, as there are in other districts. And I think it would be good to know if from the DOE, if this is something we can help advocate for, where do we stand? Are we wishing and hoping and praying, or are we like really expecting these funds to come from the state? I think it would be good to have some sort of information the next time we see you as, what is the scaling of, how is this money coming in? Where do the city agencies need support? Where could that support be? Blah, blah, blah. So where I'm headed with that. So would love to keep talking about that, because it's a very big discussion that I'm hearing a lot about.
For sure. Absolutely. Yep.
right, good. Morton, do you have one last quick question?
Yeah, no, I
Okay,
just
go ahead.
want to respond quickly to Desi. Like you say, Tricia, the whole bunch of advocacy has gone into changing the literacy curriculum in the city and elsewhere, and the so-called teachers college curriculum, Lucy Calkins units of study, has been very controversial, not just here in New York, but all across the country. And there have been criticisms of it from places like Oakland, California, Mississippi. People have tried to move away from that curriculum, which was adopted, I think, around when Bloomberg was the mayor a long time ago. And particularly kids who don't, families that don't have the resources to supplement their literacy with private tutors. They don't have the time to sit and they work maybe one job, two jobs, whatever. I don't want to go on and on because I could, but it's been very controversial. And I think Kelly was being a little bit, I don't want to say facetious, but people within the field know that the units of study is a curriculum that shall not be mentioned anymore. So that's good, and I'm told that the Wit and Wisdom curriculum is an excellent choice. That's what I'm told. So I
Thanks.
congratulate.
I think it's a good fit. Yep.
Yeah, I congratulate the District 2 on choosing that, and hope to be able to support them and everyone else in implementing it. That's what I'm told. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rosa?
Thank you. Sorry, I just had one last question, Kelly.
Yeah.
I was just curious, just because as I am a parent of, of an elementary schooler that is going to become a middle schooler, and I am extremely anxious and nervous, especially since honestly my lottery thing, according to the internet, sucks. And so how is that all going? What's the schedule? Do we have a sense of how many children are going to be receiving, locations within their top whatever choices? Trisha has in the past given us amazing sort of numbers of obviously there was an enormous concern when with high school it went lottery, and a lot of our community's students were not able to find a spot in our community. And I know middle school is different, but how is that all going? And do you have any sort of like preview numbers or statistics you're able to share?
Yeah. I don't. But that I mean not but just to remind people that the the applications were due in early December. We usually see some kind of preliminary glance around late February, early March. And then with the full release of information happening later in the spring, hopefully in April, is the plan. Actually, I think March might be the plan. I know we're trying to get ahead of the private school deadline. This is an aspiration for the city, and I think it's a really good one because we want families to know and hold on to families in our district. So I started going down the old road timeline, but we are trying to get that information out to families earlier. And so hopefully there will be a preliminary glance at those data in early February, but then in early March, mid-March, that the notifications would be shared. We have been in a good place as a district with kids getting into one of their top 3 or top 5 choices, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, our district has had very good luck with middle school admissions. I think our bigger challenge is high school here. But
Yeah.
so, I guess we'll also hear from you on our quarterly report. You might have some insights into that the next time we see.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the conversation around high schools. I know how stressful it is, and it only makes our work easier in K through 8 if there are great options for families and a little bit more competence in where kids will end up attending if that extends through high school. So
Yeah. Thank you. Bob, you have something?
Sure. And Tricia, in the next 60 days, I should be reporting on summarizings to people. I know in the mayor's address, actually tying in with immigrant work that he's doing, because he's taken some hits. And we had a meeting on it and I think I think he mentioned summarizing as a success story. So, and I know the way they're going to make cuts, I think, is to underperforming schools in summarizing that couldn't get the kids to summarizing. And we had just the opposite. We had too many kids. We filled up in 1 hour.
yeah.
So 100 kids at PS 276 and at Baruch and at IS 89 and at LMC, your old stomping grounds, Kelly. So there was quite need for summarizing, and it was a labor of love. But I did raise my hand because I wanted to go back to what Joel was talking about and maybe put it on the agenda. My son in Virginia is a member of a makerspace. He's older, and they're run by nonprofits who actually sometimes some of them don't even have salaried people, and they're extensive, and they're quite cool, and they do a lot. I didn't know about 276. I emailed my staff at 276 to learn a little bit about more. But Joel, I'd love to coordinate with you back and forth, because one of the I haven't heard diddly squat about the 10,000 square feet at the World Trade Center, where I tried to get involved a little bit. And it doesn't have to be in a school. Kids can go to it and adults can go to it. If there was capacity in school, I know JSK up on 96th Street might have some capacity. They have a very large technical program there where kids do woodwork. And my son, I don't know, I have to check if he's my son. He used to make a lot of swords, 6-foot swords out of metal. And it really is quite good for the soul, for adults and for kids to make something. And I think we should put that on our long-term agenda because we'd be happy to partner with someone that could do that. It really is, shop, as we used to call it when I was in school, not there anymore. But maker space is like shop. It has tech, it has 3D, it has video, but it also has plumbing. You could be a plumber, and people used to rent the space to make cabinets to then sell it. It's Joel, you can look at it. I don't know if they got killed by the pandemic, but it was in Virginia, right just outside of Washington. I'll try to send you that maker space, but I'm sure you know a little bit more about it than me. My son interrupted the call. I'm on, but he's a big fan of makerspace. Now he has 2 kids, so he doesn't get to go there as much anymore. But it is really something that this community could look at where people would like. Joel, anything ring a bell there?
Yeah, I think, yeah, you're spot on. We need more places where you can actually make with your hand. I think that's more important than 3D printing, in my opinion.
Yes, yes.
It's very important for child development, for creativity, innovation, problem solving, critical thinking, and it's also been shown to help students in their other classes. And it's had great responses in the schools that have done it around the country from students. And then also there's an equity concern given how undiverse engineering is right now. So giving equal access, because I've gone to private school for middle school, high school, lower school, and I've always had an access to maker spaces, which has had quite an impact on my life. And I want to make sure that people in the public school system aren't missing out on that. So
Joe,
yeah,
were they in your school? Were the maker spaces in your school?
yes, yep, just like shop.
Yeah, just like shop. I remember from high school at Springfield Gardens High School in Queens, all the kids that were not doing well in school were in shop, and they came to school every day and hung out fixing cars, and it was you know, so it could be, and it could lead to real career development, as you say, Joel. So Tricia, I would keep that idea, try to give it some,
The resolution's gonna be on our February agenda. It's a really big deal. It's great for mental health. It's, all kinds of studies have been
Thank you.
proven the importance.
what
of it.
happened to Penn World Trade Center? What
I don't
happened to
know, but
that?
I'm very sensitive to the fact that Kelly's been with us an hour and 10 minutes and he has small children alone with his wife in an airplane. So I'm going to let him go.
Okay,
And thank him so much for his time
Thanks,
tonight,
Kelly.
under those extraordinary circumstances especially. And
All good, all good.
thank you so much, Kelly. And we'll look forward to hearing from you the next time, sometime in the spring.
All right. Thanks so much,
Thank you.
Tricia. Take care, y'all.
Bye.
thanks for it.
Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
On the subject of maker
yes.
schools, sorry, I just wanted to say, in case people were not aware, that Urban Assembly has a maker school. It's actually called the Urban Assembly Maker Academy that is housed inside Murray Bertram High School. And that is a Title I high school. It's co-located with 3 other schools. And that is what the entire school is about, actually. And we've been working closely with them at Gotham Park to build and design resilient planters. We're, looking to work with them on a few other ideas as well. And I agree with everything that Joel and Bob are saying. And I think that whatever we can do to try to help support and grow maker spaces in the community are an incredible asset to all of us. I think the difficulty down here is just that, I know that there are maker spaces for adults, in different parts of the city, but they tend to be sort of not centrally located like where we are. And so I wonder if, our location is part of the issue. I don't know. Anyways.
Well,
just my 2 cents.
makerspace, the whole idea of a makerspace, and that's why I asked him that question about budget, because there is, there's 2 budgets in any school. There is the budget they get for the amount of students that are in the school, the per pupil funding, right, from the DOE. I know that at 234, we had a huge amount of discretion in how to use the budget because we raised so much as a PTA. And that's what I was trying to get at with him with my question. It still is not an equitable situation about who gets to have a makerspace. Every time you see some creative, something creative like that a school has, you can almost be guaranteed that it is because they have robust fundraising, because otherwise it does come at the expense of something else in the budget. Now, it's per pupil funding. If we were funded by the class, which is what we've advocated for years for in this committee and community district, the schools would have so much more flexibility in terms of what they could do in terms of their curriculum and the discretionary things they can add to their curriculum. Because the DOE actually gives schools a pretty broad range, a lot of freedom in terms of what they want to bring to their curriculums. In some cases, they have to be approved through trial and testing. Sometimes it's like, hey, go for it, do it. Something like this, I do not think will have to be trialed and proved, because I think it already has in our school system. I think what we're going to find when we go to do our research on, schools that might want it, that have already thought about it, that can't, it's going to come down to those PTA dollars at the elementary level, especially. So, it's something that we can also bring to our city council people, see if it falls under something that we could get funding from them with their discretionary budgets and things that they're allowed to do. There are creative ways of getting this funding. I've also talked to the SCA back when Bob was looking into that space at 5 World Trade, that you also know that I'm an advocate of getting gyms built, full-size gyms built in a community that several schools can then use, because we're finding time after time we don't have the space in these odd foot plates we're getting to build a proper gym. And sports is another one of those things. In competitive sports, I don't mean like running around on a dance floor, which is where we had this kind of heated discussion with the SCA. is we have to have competitive sports for it is so important for kids grit, it's important for their work ethic, sense of accountability, responsibility, physical health, I mean mental health, it goes on and on and on, self-esteem. And so, maybe we can put things like maker spaces in that bucket where we're not really leaning so heavily on our individual schools and then continue to have this have and have not situation, but really advocate for having them built at the community level that our schools can then all use. And if the SCA is more creative about the way they fund schools, because we've seen them time after time go back and build, just like the Harbor School is doing right now. They got the funding initially when they put the Harbor School on Governor's Island. Funding for that pool was included in that original deal, and the pool didn't get built. Where did the money go? It disappeared. And so they went back and they found the money later. It was a joint effort between the SCA, the mayor's office, and the city council. So we got it built. It took a lot of out of the box thinking, but I think, I for one, and we can, I really did want to do the resolution on gyms this year, but I have to say this fight, this long haul on the Harbor School was such a priority that because this resolution is going to be very hard on the SCA, and I'm sensitive to the fact that they're in the middle of doing something amazing for one of our schools. They actually have risen way above and beyond what they promised to do, which really needs to be supported and they set a new standard for what they're capable of doing in something like this collaboration with Governor's Island for that school. So I really wanted to support them throughout that process and then move into, a couple of very important issues, which is like this gym, potentially maker spaces on the community level, and also auditing them in terms of the square footage prices that they're spending on school buildings. It's over $800 on a square foot on this project, and it's heartbreaking. And I think that we have to find a way, and maybe we have to find a way to help the SCA bring these things in on budget. Maybe it's the mayor's office that has so many requirements. Maybe they're being, their hands are being tied behind their back in some way that we don't know. And an audit will uncover that. So those are, I would recommend putting those three things in a bucket for 2024 here, because I think we could really make some important gains. And one thing we learned at the pandemic was we have great schools here. We're very fortunate. And right now they're not overcrowded at this snapshot in time. But we had mental health issues that came out of this pandemic that were extraordinary and difficult. And we did not have the resources to meet these kids where they needed us. And I think that all of these things are really important, along with, additional counselors that we're now told we're getting at the school level, which is another discussion this year. But all these things are things that support mental health and physical health in addition to academics. And we're really short on gyms down here. And I think it's a problem. So that's just a footnote on that. And not that I think Makerspace should be put in that bucket from the get-go, Joel. I think we do this resolution and we see how, how the city responds, see what our schools come back and tell us about their interest in it and their ability to execute it. And then we can take that, from there. But I'm really excited and I'm thankful to you for bringing this to us. It was just awesome that you started the conversation, and I expect that there's going to be a lot of support for it going forward. Does anybody else have anything they want to say about the maker spaces to help inform Joel's resolution that we're going to be working on between now and February? Morton?
Yeah, all I want to say is that when my son was in college, he went to these maker space conventions and then over the club. My older son, not my 8-year-old, he's now 20, he'll be 26 in February, and he was a big enthusiast for this activity. So this sounds very excellent idea, and I would support it completely.
I'd like to know what happened to the 5 World Trade Space. I haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, I haven't either, you know.
So I'm on the CAC. I haven't heard anything about it either. I think they're just working away at something, but we haven't heard peep, just FYI.
Thank you, Rosa.
Thank you, Rosa.
Is it a done deal, this space? I thought that we had missed some important deadline for advocacy there.
We did.
I mean, the amount of funding that's going in for affordable housing and the number of units that they need to provide, et cetera, that is, I believe, a done deal at this point.
Yeah.
Honestly, the community facility space is essentially a footnote because you're talking about a building that's, you know, significant in size, and we're talking about the community facility space that's only been allocated 10,000 square feet. Obviously, I was, you know, fighting to get that enlarged enormously to, you know, 100,000 square feet, but that just did not gain any traction. Especially, you know, with the affordable housing issue sort of really taking the lead. So as far as I know, it's still, you know, it's more than 10,000 now, but it's not like anywhere near 100. And, you know,
Well,
that's
10,000
what
will
it
get
is.
a lot done, I have to say, you know, 10,000 will do, that might even be big enough, depends on the shape. It'd be really interesting to, if you think there's anything that we can do, I know you would come to us, but,
Yes.
you know, if there's something we can do in terms of a charrette or something like that when it comes, 'cause I know we did that with the space on Broadway when it became available, the city-owned space. It would be
Yeah.
great if they'd agree to a charrette of some sort so we could, you know, advocate for some of that space. We could really use anything at this point, you know,
Let
for,
me go through my emails. It's been silent for a while, so on that topic. So let me see what I can dig up and reach out and see if there's anything we can press on while it's still all, you know, lines in a computer.
yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great to hear from Andrew too. I mean, you know, he was, if you're still with us, Andrew, remember you talking about how great it would be to have some winter space, that might be too small for the purposes you were thinking of. But we really don't have any indoor, you know, athletic space in this district, and we could really use it. So I would love to keep in touch with you on that to see if we might be able to get something from that deal.
Well, you know, there's also so I don't know how many of you are following the whole sustainability discussion alongside IC Port Resiliency, but EDC has come back the last several months and designated the old market site on the pier as
Mhm.
community facility space, as community, you know, rec space. And so I don't know, you know, right now it seems like they are interested in going in that direction. So
Great.
that is an opportunity. Obviously, it's at the far east side, and it's many, many years out. That's the issue. I mean,
Yeah.
but you look at Five World Trade, and that is also many, many years out.
Yeah.
If you're looking about interior active recreation space, then that space doesn't exist at the moment.
Right.
And all the ones that we're looking at are at minimum 5 years out.
Mhm. Okay, well, it's good to know. Let's keep the conversation going. 5 years does go pretty quickly around here, I have to say. And I also had the office send out a blast today. I just want to say it out loud for the public. Trinity Church just released their after-school offerings for the spring. They have some free and low-cost sliding scale options. So it's just good to make people aware of some, you know, some additional options that are available to our youth. They have like drop-in stuff that teenagers can do, which is really awesome if they don't feel like, you know, registering and committing to an entire semester of activities, which is really unique and a lot of kids have taken advantage of. So that blast is going to go out, but please share with anybody that you know. You can reach them at trinitywallstreet.org. And that's it, I think. Unless anybody has any new business.
Yeah. Hi, good evening.
Darren?
Darren Charcuti in here.
Hey.
with the concern of the homeless shelter being across the street from basically across the street from Spruce Street School, are we taking that up at all, or is this quality of life or our executive committee, anything like that?
You mean the safety issues?
Yeah.
The transportation department, the transportation committee was given those issues. And I just talked to Tammy about it. I think we're going to try to do a joint resolution because once they go to transportation, I'm not seeing them unless I can get myself there. And it's hard for me to liaise. So, and I think it's important that all of our committee members are in this loop. And so I think a joint meeting to discuss school safety issues could be a really useful thing for us to do. We have them there, we have them elsewhere. So I think it could be important to advocate for that coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, we might even be able to do it for part of our regular meeting if we don't have additional agenda items come in February. So know that we're speaking about that, but we just talked about it yesterday, Darren. So,
Thank you.
Desi?
Actually, I think you're talking about different issues. I think Darren's talking about the homeless shelter that's going on directly kitty corner from Spruce Street. And I think
Yes.
you're talking about the traffic safety issue.
I'm talking about the
situation.
traffic safety because we've heard about from a bunch of their parents. So you have a different,
Well, I mean, I guess there is concerns, I've seen there's a change.org petition going on or something like that. Something came to my attention this morning. And I mean, I guess it tangentially does impact school safety, or at least some concerns around school safety.
yes, it's a different kind of school safety, but it's also school safety. So, you know what, is this something that's urgent? Do you want to put it on February?
I just don't know the timeline and everything. I mean, I know people, was it the November board committee or the December board committee where a bunch of people in the community came out in the public session there? I can't remember which meeting that was.
I think it was
I
both.
can't either, but it would be good to get some facts together so that we could discuss it.
Yeah, I believe it was November.
I'll circle back with Lucy on that and see what we can find.
Okay,
Desi?
thank you.
Yeah, I think that's the November. It was October or November, I think you were talking about, where folks came and expressed their concerns about, you talking about the men's shelter across the street from the school?
41B, I think, is the address.
Yeah,
Right next to Engine 6.
yeah, I'm not absolutely sure, but I'm thinking that might come up in our quality of service and outreach committee as well.
Okay.
I'll reach
Michelle,
out
how
to
should
you.
I? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll reach out to Tammy and see if she can connect me and see where things are with that, Darren. We'll take an action of some sort before February.
Great, thank you.
All right, guys, I've got to jump, but
Happy birthday,
just want-
Tricia.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Happy
birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Thank
Yeah,
everybody for
bye.
being
Good
here.
night.
We had such great attendance tonight, and thanks for being so quick about making the transition. I really
And
appreciate
thank
it.
you, Lucy.
Thank
Go
you.
home,
Thanks,
Lucy.
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 Okay, be well, everybody.
Good night,
Tricia, how
everyone.
should
Namaste
we
and happy
work
new year.
together
Bye.
on
Bye.
the resolution before?
Bye.
Um,
Mhm.
Say
Tricia.
bye-bye, good night.
Okay.